So we've gone through the homework, and I think you're good with how we set up the graphs. But what we've got to talk about are your number lines. What we've got to talk about, though, is interval notation. And that is a way that you can also rewrite your answers, and you're going to be asked to use interval notation a lot. And that's kind of when you get up into, I know in Algebra 2, that's how we answer most of our work, is with interval notation. All right, so let's see what that's about. They're really easy if you already have it graphed. And even if you're given a problem and you're told, just give your answer in interval notation, but you're not told to graph it, it always helps to just draw a little baby number line out in the margin, set it up. That's going to be your visual to create your answer in interval notation. All right, when do we use the circle in graphing and putting it on the number line? What's our situation when we only use a circle?
But it doesn't have a line under it.
Right, so it's either less than or greater than. So if that's the case, if it's like less than 7, is 7 part of your answer solution? No. Anything less than like 6.99 would work, but not 7. If it's less than or equal to, does 7 work?
Yeah.
Yes, it could be equal to 7. All right, so when you are asked to put something in interval notation, you're going to use the layout of the number line to set it up. So let's look at 1112. 1112 was a less than. So we're hoping for barbells. And luckily we ended up with 2 barbells, 2 dots, or circles if you will, and then it filled in between. And you're telling me it did not include the number. Please turn that off.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm not doing this all day.
Thank you. It's like, whoa. They did not include the number. We put a circle where the number was. All right, we're going to use half of that circle and make a parenthesis. So your answer in interval notation for 1112, the first thing we came to on our graph was negative 10. So you're going to put a parenthesis, negative 10. Wait, and I'm going to put this in a different color. Hold on. You'll have a parenthesis, negative 10, and then it went all the way to positive 8, also having a circle, and so we put a parenthesis. It looks like an ordered pair, but if it's interval notation, it means it started at negative 10, went all the way to 8, and it was circles because it had a parenthesis. Does that make sense? We're going to go baby steps. We got 2 or 3 different kinds to see. So look at 1718. This was one we did in class. 1718. On the number line, what's the first thing we come to in our number line that we used to make our barbells? Anybody with me? Please quit writing or doing whatever it is you're doing. Thank you. What answer did we come to on 1718? Nobody sees a number that was filled in?
P is greater than -6.
What's on our number line? First thing.
-6.
Negative 6. Was it part of the solution? Is it a filled in?
Yeah.
Yes. So, what you do for interval notation is we'll put the negative 6, but we put it in a bracket and not a parenthesis. And think about on a number line, how you can draw a line through, to show where negative 6 is. So it gets a bracket. It's kind of like that going through that number. And then the next number we got to that we used was 0. Was it a circle or a fill-in? So we put a parenthesis. All right, makes sense? What would you do for 15, 16? Work that one and then we'll talk about it. Lala Puckett, what'd you get?
Me?
Mm-hmm.
Bracket 1, comma 7, and another bracket.
Perfect. Perfect. All right. Everybody agree? Because they were or equal to or equal to. Okay. That takes care of the barbells. Now let's talk about the airplane wings. All right, here's the deal. We have two equations. They are or, which means they don't have to share anything. So you're going to write one of the equations, and then you'll write the other equation, like as interval notation. They have nothing to do with each other. That's why there's an airplane wing. They don't cross at all. So you put a capital U in between the two interval notations to show that it is the union of these two things that have nothing in common as the solution. But here's my question to you. Notice on number 9 how it went all the way off in Never Never Land to the left. What's down here? What's out there?
Infinite negative.
It's a negative infinity. What's to the right?
Infinite positive.
Positive infinity. Now, do we know where the negative and positive infinities stop?
No.
So we don't have a specific number, do we?
No.
So we use parentheses. And you write it like you see it on the number line. So we would have a parenthesis, a negative infinity, comma, -6, and a parenthesis. Then we would have a parenthesis, 8, comma, positive infinity, parenthesis, with a U in the middle. Does that make sense?
Would you still use brackets?
Only if you filled them all the way in.
Okay.
Now, positive and negative infinity will never be a bracket because there's never a specific number out there. It's always just
So like for the 6, could you put a bracket for that one if it was filled in?
if it were filled in. So we're going to look at 1920 and see how we would write 19 and 20 using the number line. So what would be our first thing?
Negative infinity.
Okay, and what goes in front of that? How do we bracket it or parenthesis?
Parentheses.
Yes. Negative infinity. What number?
0.
0. Bracket or parenthesis?
Parentheses.
Yep. Then what's next?
Bracket 7.
Perfect. Bracket 7. How do we end it?
Positive infinity.
With a,
Parentheses.
and what goes in the middle?
U.
That's it. Excellent job. Y'all work. Give me the interval notation for 23, 24. Parker, how would we start it? For 23, 24. Not sure? Okay. Mamie, what would be the first thing you would do?
I'm still working.
No, what's it?
First thing you do is subtract.
We already have our solution. We're just doing the interval notation. It's already worked.
Okay.
Bahar, what would you do?
Would we do parentheses negative infinity and then comma negative 5 and then parentheses?
No, ma'am.
Then the what's the other one called?
Describe it.
The half
Yep,
of a
that.
rectangle.
Bracket.
Oh.
Good description. Half a rectangle. I love that. Bracket.
And then a U.
Mm-hmm.
And then would you do half of a bracket? Oh, 4 infinity. Another bracket?
Nope.
Oh, parentheses.
Yep. Because we don't know where it ends. It just goes on forever. All right, so did that make sense? 23, 24. Parker, what about that has you stumped?
Oh, I can do that.
Okay. All right. We're going to the next page. We will still be circling back to interval notation, but we're starting with absolute value. All right, who can tell me what we mean by the term absolute value? What are we referencing there? Distance from zero. So if I just said, oh, we traveled 4 steps from zero, we don't know if you went 4 ahead of zero or 4 behind zero, positive land or negative land. And it's because you have a variable that doesn't bless you, that doesn't allow you to know. So that means every time you're working with absolute value, you're going to have 2 answers, with a few exceptions. But for the most part, that will be the case. So the first thing you've got to be sure that's happened is that the absolute value bars are isolated. In other words, there's nothing over there with the bars that are being added, subtracted, multiplied, or divided. And in this case, for number 25, everything's good. So we drop the bars and we write the 2 equations. So the original is n equals 2, and the other one is n equals negative 2. Does that make sense? All right, so the way I will write it is n equals positive or negative 2, plus or minus 2. All right, 27. What would be, are we isolated? Yes. So what would be our answer options? Nope. Absolute value is all about distance, and distance is not going to be negative.
X equals positive.
So nope, it is no solution.
Oh.
If it is isolated and equal to a negative, then it is no solution. All right, 29. Are we isolated? We do have things happening inside the absolute value bars, but there's nothing on the outside of the bars. So we drop them, and our 2 equations are r over 5 equals 3, and then r over 5 equals negative 3. Now, how do we isolate r for our final answer? Multiply by 5 both times. So r equals what? 15 and negative 15. So plus or minus 15. Now, don't get slap happy and start just saying, oh, I got 5. Well, the other answer is automatically negative 5. That's not always the case. Double check, work it to be sure that it's that way. Hint, hint, moving into 31. So, are we isolated? The absolute value bars.
Yeah.
Is there anything on the outside of the absolute value bars? No. So we're isolated. We're ready to drop them. Never, ever, 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 never, 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 I hope you're hearing me, never change what's going on inside the absolute value bars. You won't make that 4 a positive 4 when you create the second equation. Okay? So you're going to have negative 4 plus 1 equals 1. And then what's our second equation?
Positive.
That's what I said. Don't ever change it.
Negative 4 plus n equals negative 1.
Yes, you only change the right-hand side of the equation. All right, then we solve. So n equals, for the first equation, equals what? 5. Now, the answer is not going to be automatically negative 5. What will it be?
3.
N equals 3. Okay? And when you have absolute value with addition and subtraction going on inside of it, that's a huge hint that the signs, your answers will not just be opposite numbers. All right, 33. Absolute value bars isolated?
No.
No, good catch. How can we isolate them?
Multiply by 2.
Multiply both sides by 2. So 2 over 1, 2 over 1. That means the denominator cancels out, and we're left with the absolute value bar of 5n. And then when we multiply 2 by 2, we get 4. So are we ready to drop the bars? We're all isolated and good to go?
Yes.
All right, so we're going to have 5n equals 4. What's the other equation? 5n equals negative 4. So what are our options for n? What's the positive answer? 4/5. What's the negative answer?
Negative 4.
Yep. So this one is positive or negative 4/5. All right, 35. At a glance, it looks like no solution because it's saying equals negative 12. But are we isolated?
No.
No. What do we have to do to isolate the absolute values? Oh, let me say that. You have absolute value bars. They are treated like a wall. You're either in or you're out. You can never cross over. Okay? So that's why we have to drop them to be able to work with it. So you can I love that idea because yes, usually you're distributing. Because it does mean negative 3 multiplied by the absolute value bars, but we can't cross over it. All right? So how do we isolate?
Divide.
Divide by
Negative 3.
negative 3. And what does that give us on the right-hand side?
Positive 4.
Yes, so now we can work it. So when we divide by negative 3, because initially it made me think no solution, but those two negatives will give us the positive. So we'll have r plus 2 equals 4. And then r plus 2 equals what?
A negative.
Negative 4. So what are our two options? R could be what? No. R could be
6 or negative 2.
2.
2 or negative 6.
So it could be 2 or negative 6. Okay. How would we write the interval notation for 35?
Parentheses.
Are they equal or are they less than greater than?
Less than greater.
Well, look at the problem. Is it a less than greater than or is it an equal for 35?
Oh, equal.
Equal.
Oh.
So what kind of symbol will we use outside? Brackets, because it is part of the solution. So we would have a bracket, and then what would we have?
A negative 6. Oh, wait. That infinity thing. Wait, do you do the infinity thing?
What is our solution? What'd you get right here for the R?
2 and negative 6.
2 and negative 6.
Oh, so you don't need that?
Nope.
Okay.
So it would be, how would we write?
Negative 6 and comma 2.
Why did you put it in that order?
Because it's least to greatest.
Yep, that's where we find it on a number line. We find negative 6 before 2. And they are the answer, so you use a bracket. Okay? Is that good? Okay, we're moving to the next page, I think. maybe. There we go. All right. Now we're looking at, make sure, yeah, a little more. What? Come back. There we are. We're going to solve each and graph. Now they're inequalities. Yeah, it's so fun. So you still need to isolate your absolute value bars. But instead of making it equal a number and equaling the opposite of that number, do you remember what to do to make the second equation?
You change the sign like a plus.
You change the inequality sign and change the right-hand sign's number. Sign. So if it were less than 4, it's going to be greater than -4. All right? So we're looking at this problem. What sign is in this problem? What inequality sign?
Greater than.
Negative
Equal
one.
to.
The inequality sign.
Oh.
Greater than or equal to. And greater means what? And or? Or. So here's an or. Are we isolated? The absolute value bars?
Yes.
Yes. So we can drop them now. And the original equation is going to be negative 4n is greater than or equal to 12. And then the other equation is negative 4n is less than or equal to what? Negative 12. Does that make sense? All right, so what's our solution? N is
Negative
Less
30.
than. Less than or equal to -3.
wait a minute. We had a greater than. Why is it less than?
Because you
You divided by a negative. Perfect. So what's our other one? N is
Greater than.
greater than or equal to positive 3. All right. Everybody good about the flipping? We had to change something. We had a lot of changing on that. This original, though, is an or. So we're either going to have airplane wings or we're going to have all real numbers. So let's go see. -3. Are we going to fill in or circle? Good. And it says we're going to the left. And then we fill in at 3. And we're going to the right. Who can tell me what the interval notation would be? Baxter, can you handle that?
What was the question?
Can you give me the interval notation?
Would that be parentheses, negative infinity,
Mm-hmm.
comma, -3, and then brackets,
Perfect.
and then 3, or parentheses, 3,
Parenthesis or bracket?
bracket, 3,
Good. 3.
comma, infinity, parentheses.
Anything else? In the middle. What goes in the middle?
Oh, yeah.
Capital U. Good. To show that it's the union of those two, since they don't have anything to do with each other. Excellent job. All right, 41, 42. You work it. Is it isolated?
Yes.
Yes. So see what you can do. So M is greater than what? 12. And then M is less than -4. And I meant to ask, what is this, a less than or a greater than? greater than, so it's an or. And do we get an or when we graph? Are we going to put circles or are we going to put, yes, good. So circles and a -4. All right, so we got airplane wings. Who's going to tackle the interval notation? Who's on it? Catherine?
Would it be negative, like parentheses, negative infinity,
Mm-hmm.
comma, 12,
Follow the number line. Where did you come
or
to?
negative 4,
-4.
and then bracket,
Did we fill in or leave it a circle?
oh, circle,
So which means that's parenthesis.
and then would it be U,
U.
and then another parentheses,
Yes.
infinity,
What comes next? On the number line.
12,
12
and then infinity,
and
parentheses.
parenthesis. Good. All right, let me look. 45, 46. Are we isolated?
Yes.
No. The absolute value bars. Like, is there anything happening outside the bars over there with the bars?
Oh, yeah.
So what do we have to move?
The
The 1. So we're going to have absolute value bar, P plus 3, is less than or equal to what? When we move the 1 over, what does it
3.
become? A 3. So, are we isolated now?
Yes.
And it is going to be an and or an or?
and
An and. So that means we're hoping for barbells. It's either going to be barbells or nothing. So we're going to have P plus 3 is less than or equal to 3. P plus 3 is greater than or equal to what?
Negative.
-3. Guys, I have people that they change the flipper, but they don't change the sign of the number. Be careful. Make both of those changes for the second equation. So our first one, P, is going to be less than or equal to 0. P is going to be greater than or equal to
0. Oh, wait. -6.
-6.
Oh, JK.
And so we would go to 0 and do what? Fill in or circle it? Fill in, and we're going to go to -6, and we're going to fill in, and it works. They're going toward each other with their signs, the points. So what is the interval notation, though, for this? Lala Kate?
is it
Bracket.
bracket,
-6, comma 0, what?
bracket,
Bracket. And we're done. It begins at -6 and it ends at 0. That's what that's saying. All right. 4950. Are we isolated? No. What do we have to do?
Move the 4.
Over as a -4, and that gives us what?
10.
Yes. So we're going to have absolute value, x minus 9 is less than 10. Less than or greater than? Less than, so it's and. We're hoping for barbells. So x minus 9 is less than 10, or x minus 9 is greater than what?
Negative.
-10. So x is less than 19. X is greater than negative what? 1. So we go to 19, which is in the middle, and we circle or fill in?
Circle.
Circle between 18 and 20. We go to -1, which is between 0 and -2, and we do a circle, and it works. They go across to each other. So what's the interval notation for this? Cameron, what do you get?
Parentheses, 1, comma, 19,
Look at your solution. Is it 1?
negative 1.
-1, good. -1, 19, and then what?
Parentheses.
Yep. Good job. Okay. 53, 54. What's happening here? What are we going to move first? Because we're not isolated.
The 3.
The 3. And it's a happy 3. It's a positive 3.
So you
Make it a -3. So we have negative absolute value 3n is greater than what?
0.
-3 plus -3.
Negative 6.
-6. Are we isolated?
No.
Not yet. We have that negative sign hanging out. What does that negative sign represent?
A 1.
A -1. So we've got to divide by -1, which means what happens to the flipper?
It flips.
It flips. So that means we're now working with absolute value of 3n is less than what?
Positive 6.
Yes, ma'am. Now, here is like the aha of something. We haven't had this yet. We divided, before we isolated the absolute values, or in the process of isolating, we divided by a negative. Or if you multiplied by a negative, either way. You changed the sign of the problem. And before you dropped your absolute value bars, that makes the problem change. So it started off typed as a greater than problem. But by the time we get ready to drop absolute value bars, it's now a less than. And that's the sign we go with. So it should be a less than, an and problem. Does anybody have a question about how that happened? Are you good with how it became an and versus an or?
So like once it's isolated, that's like when you know.
Yep.
you need-
Once you've done all the steps and right before you drop it, look at the sign. Not just look at the original problem and grab it. Make sure if you flipped it ever, throughout the isolation, that's the sign you go with. All right, so it's going to be an and now. So we're going to have 3n is less than 6, or 3n is greater than what?
Negative 6.
-6. So what are our options? N is less than or greater than -2. Okay, and it's an and. So I'm going to go to 2. Circle or fill in?
Search.
Same thing for -2. And n is at the -2. It's got to go this way and this way, so it works. Now, if that had stayed a greater than, that would have been all real numbers. Because they would have kept going across each other. But are we good? Okay. Let's look at the last 3. We're going to build up. We're going to do 61, 62, and then 65, 66, and come back to 57, 58. All right. 61, 62, are we isolated?
Yes.
Yes. So are we a greater than or a less than? What's our sign? It's greater than. All right, so let me ask you something. What's greater than a negative? A positive. Hint. That's probably what you're going to see for this answer. All right, so this is an or. So we're isolated, and we're going to say oops, sorry, I don't have to cut the bars anymore. X divided by 3 is greater than or equal to -1, or X over 3 is less than or equal to what? Positive 1. So our first equation provides us with X is greater than or equal to, anybody? -3, because -1 times 3. And then the other equation, X is less than or equal to 3. You're clearing by 3 on both, multiplying both sides by 3. All right, are we circles or fill-ins? Alrighty, so I'm going to go to -3 and fill it in. And I'm going to go to +3 and fill it in. And it's an or. So at -3, I'm going all the way this way. +3, I'm going all the way this way. So, do you see? It's all real numbers, which means you need to fill in. Now, guys, this drawing a little arrow over like I just did, that won't count when I'm grading. I need the number line handled, okay? And your interval notation would be just the all real number sign. Now, remember we said any absolute value that's greater than a negative is going to give you all real numbers. Now, look at 65, 66. What kind of numbers are less than negative? Less than negative. More negatives. And can we ever have negatives for no? So this should give us no solution. Because and it is an and. Okay, it's that less than. So let's see. Are we isolated?
Yes.
So n plus 4 is less than, I'm sorry, we've already said that. N is less than what?
4.
-5. And then n is greater than 3. All right, we go to -5 and we use circles or circle at -5, circle at 3. Okay, so n is less than -5, goes this way. N is greater than 3, goes this way. It's supposed to be an and,
No solution.
but it created an or. So no solution. Now here is something you've got to hear, and I will count off. The graph the directions are, solve for the inequality and graph your solution. Our solution is no solution. We can't have a graph then. There is no solution to graph. So that means once you have determined that, you go back and erase your graph. If you leave it graphed, that's telling me that there's your solution. Okay? Even if you put no solution, you gave me a graph. No solution, no graph. All real numbers, fill in the line all the way across. All right, you work 57, 58. Well, it's going to be the first thing you do for this problem.
Minus
Minus what?
3.
Yep. Take this 3 and run it over there. That 15 becomes a 12. Then what do? We're still not isolated. What do?
Would you want? You divide
Divide by.
4 negative thing?
So when we move the 3 over, we're left with 3 absolute value bar for m is less than 12.
Would you divide by 12?
Nope. We've got to isolate the absolute value bars.
Divide by 3.
Divide by 3.
Why wouldn't it be negative?
Because like if you're solving 4m equals 12, how do you separate the 4 and the m?
Oh, you divide.
But you don't change the sign. And that absolute value bar, you're treating it like a variable. It's multiplication. The only time you're going to change the sign is when it's adding or subtracting. So then we have, I'm not going to say anything else. Making sure y'all got on the right track. So m is less than or equal to what? 1 and then greater than or equal to negative 1. Does it work? Is this a greater than or less than? I mean, is this is this greater than or less than? It's an and. It's a less than. Do we have barbells or airplane wings? Boy, y'all just are not going to talk today. Barbells. Any questions about what we've done? Oh, tell me what the interval notation for 57, 58 would be, Tully.
Bracket, -1, comma, 1 bracket.
Perfect. For no solution, if there's not going to be an interval notation. It's just the no solution. Yes, sir.
I'm still a little bit confused about how you can talk to some 4 with all real numbers and
Well, okay, greater than is going to give you airplane wings, which means one's graphing that way and one's graphing that way. It's still greater than. One's going that way while the other one's going that way. They're crossing over, going, and we're like this. That's all real numbers. And has to be with a share because it's and. It's this and that. So it goes from here to here. If it does this, that means one went that way and one went that way, and they don't share a thing. And they'll never cross over to be all real numbers because this point right here wouldn't be working for this number, and that point would be beyond that one. Does that make sense, Wesley? Okay. Caroline Louise.
Like, if you did integral notation for all the numbers, would it just be negative infinity?
Yes. Negative infinity, positive infinity. With parentheses.
Only.
Okay. And then